Hello. Is my baby. She's sleeping. Stuff's in the way. Okay. Sweet peas. Like I can use this. Sparkle. It's a little bit too extreme of a color. Oh, but still the purplish to them. I can move these up a little bit. Actually, I hate that. Let's go back to what it was. There we go. I like that. Fiddlehead Fern. I have all this plant, and then I don't have what I want. Oh, thank you, Phantom. I will do a normal hydrate with water. Ah, Is the music too loud? I'm not talking a lot though, so it's fine if it's louder-ish. How are you? I wouldn't say so. Okay. Doing well. That's good. That's good. I am obviously up at 5 a.m. So there's that. Oh, I guess a bigger curl is necessary. Okay. Fieldhead fern. That's not the right color. I want it to be the right color, but it's not. Common mushroom is repeated again, so wild plum. Uh, Hello, air shelters. This is, I mean, I did it more as a way to give off nervous energy and just make a lot of small assets that were easier. So I made like these, and then I just did Stardew assets because they were easier to like make. Weird stream timing, yeah. Pretty early. Uh, so it's not intentionally for anything, but I will probably try and put them into like a Stardew Valley asset pack. These two asset packs, the houseplants and the mushrooms, are already on itch for $1. Thank you. I'm having fun doing them. Oh, hello, Shun as well. How are y'all? Just woke up. Yeah, I didn't wake up that long ago. I just decided I wanted to stream. Said I wanted to work on these things, and I felt like I should stream while I work on them anyways. Are you always an early bird? It depends. Sometimes my medicine will make me an early bird. Sometimes I will sleep. Well, when I sleep in, I say I sleep until 8 a.m. Uh, but there's a lot of times that it'll be that I'm up at like 3 a.m. or so. It is both being early bird and also having trouble sleeping together. But I'm not super tired because I went to bed early. Uh, at like 7:38 ish. So getting up at 3 a.m. after that is not awful. I feel like I should make it warmer. Yeah, I like that. I could do that. Hazelnut. I don't know what a hazelnut normally is supposed to look like. Choose this coloring. Really, not eliminating the coloring, but reusing some of the coloring. The only thing that bothers me is that I did this angle for all the crops because like you pick them up and you have that angle on them. But these are the ones that stay in the like actual ground when you pick them up. So I kind of regret my decision to do all of this. Oh, because now I think about it, these are going to be in the ground. The flowers are picked up as is on the ground. Ugh, Stardew using the same sprite for the inventory and other things. I may have to revisit my decision to make these on an angle. This also is the forgeable that needs to be straight up on. Dang it. This is what I get for doing the asset pack just kind of as is, and then not paying attention to how it is implemented in game. So in some ways, mine are less detailed than the Stardew sprites, but in some ways they're not. Seems pretty recognizable. That's good at least. It's not the recognizable, it's that like when you grow flowers, this is the sprite that shows up on the ground. So that like I was cause when I was first making these were standing straight up while these some of these were on an angle. And I'm just like, well, look them all on an angle. And then I realized now he's doing it because this is the finished sprite on the ground, not just in the inventory. But things like corn isn't, that's not the sprite that's shown. So it can be on an angle. but like this fairy rose, now it's on an angle, but it'll be on the actual like farm ground itself, like having this on the ground versus this on the ground, basically. Whalmer. I want a Whalmer because I want to wear Lord. I didn't think about that. I was just making the sprites, and I'm like, hold on. So I may have to make an update of the crops of, because putting it straightforward is easier. Especially, okay, so at least the flowers, and I think the cabbage, and I do actually have the cabbage just like this, and I accidentally made these two correctly. That means it should do things that are on the side and put them all straight if I can. Huh, okay. I'll do these first, and then I'll decide. I could probably put them in the game and try them. So these are the blackberries. I'm gonna make them slightly different to distinguish them. These can be sideways. Oh, yeah, I got the Wilmer. All the berries are all related. Let's see. It's actually more blue. A dark blue.
Hey, I can't believe you really just fucking followed me. Yo, that's the worst mistake of your life.
It scares me every time. Because I'm not used to having noises as my thing. It scares me every time. Oh boy. It's fine. No, I set that up for myself. I just haven't got used to it. It's very funny. I'm gonna make a blue. Let's. Yeah, I thought you were too. I remember you. Oh well, that happens to me too sometimes, and I'm just like, oh, I'm not? Okay. Okay, those are like two blue. Back into the purple with ye. There we go. That's fine. Blackberries, which are blue. Chanterelle. Oh wait, I thought I I'll plum that, and then it's chanterelle. Oh no, stop that. Okay. And then chanterelle, and then the purple mushroom, because I'm retaking some of these, so I already had this set out. Chanterelle, repeats the red mushroom, now purple mushroom. Oh, thank you. I will hydrate. Hold on. Also take some of my V8 splash. Sunglasses. Winter root. Self-care options. I mean, it's good. I end up drinking more this way. And no, I want it more of a red. Not sticking with my colors intensely. So there can be some variance. To root. Crystal fruit. Uh, got it. The fuck Twitch in the stream? That's what just it's a command. It's a command. It's what just ended up going with a bot earlier. Which pisses me off. So here's different ways to support if you feel like it. Everyone seems to kind of forgotten their rage and just accepted it status quo again. I'm just like, well, there are ways that you can not support Twitch if you don't want to. Alright, fruit. Ignition often cools to apathy over time. Yeah, it does. I try not to completely do that, but at the same time, I have stopped streaming to PeerTube as much. That's mostly because the added effort when I already have problems streaming in the first place is difficult to deal with. That's an uphill battle, yeah. I can deal with it to a degree though. I just have to choose my battles. Other than Twitch and Tumblr, that handful of times, are there other platforms that you use? I should probably use Tumblr again. That was fun. I just kind of forgot about it. I use PeerTube on a site called Vtopia. I have that, and it's also on my Discord's alerts. And I can't figure out how to get into the dashboard to change it again because I haven't been using it for a while. But it's still available for me if I want to. It's actually, let me see if I can grab it. I don't know if my videos are still on there. I think it's still going. Or not. Or is it having problems loading? Oh no, did Vtopia go down? Uh No, did Vtopia die and I didn't even realize? Oh no, it just took 10 years. Oh no, it's having issues. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna link that. But a PeerTube is just kind of, it's a per site basis. And I've done that much. Let's see. I don't know why I really made an outline of this one. This one doesn't matter very much. Or not that it doesn't matter very much, but it's like not that intense. That it needed a base. It's not related to what I was doing. So it didn't really need a base. I really should stream on Twitch more. Or Twitch, sorry, Tumblr. I don't know why I specifically didn't want to. Or not that I didn't want to, I just didn't pick it back up. This is looking terrible. Should really just maybe use so a flower I'm thinking about. I don't know what. Sunflower, the daffodil. And make it straighter. I think it's also the wrong color, in general. Probably need to grab more of this color. I think this is the same color, I'm not sure. This is not quite right either. Just subscribe to your YouTube channel and had 2 things after seeing your intermission screen. Oh, the one that I actually animated and stuff. Cat is adorable one too. We have the same flower blanket. Oh, that's cute. I like that flower blanket a lot. It's being replaced with the Wiz blankie I have. But it's still very cute. Hi, Wavy. Hello. Let's see. I can extend to the edges if I want to. I'm just trying not to. Rip in peace. Oh, I say replace as, and I don't enjoy it as much as the Wiz blankie, but it's still a good blanket. And I say that me, but I mostly mean my cat. She has a new favorite blanket because the flower one was her favorite one. But I got a blanket made of a friend's character, and she really likes that one. Still trying to figure out like if I can do something to sell it, which I mean I think I can. I just have to set up a shop for it. But how are you, Wavy? Is your cat a fan? The equal parts adorable. I love my cat. I love my cat a lot. Blankets are amazing. Yeah, I want another one. I want to put a new design on a blanket that I have. Is it on here? Yeah, so I made this pattern to put on a blanket, and then I just need to print to test the quality. Yeah, print to test the quality, and then maybe put that for sale. See if anyone wants a blanket of this. I think it's like about this size. I don't know exactly. I have to test print it. Squid's doing awesome. Also super sleepy but can't go to bed. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm up really early because I already went to bed. I'm sure they would be interested. I'm not sure if they would be as interested, but I'm interested. When did my no one told me my face tracking died. My phone keeps saying, hey, I need verification for your account. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. I'm not using this phone. Stop. Welcome to the poor sleep club. Sorry they can't sleep. Aw. Alright, crocus. So this needs a... There we go. It needs that. No, it still doesn't work. Okay, and then holly is like a bush. It has really pointy... I took this for something else before, but it's a nice little leaf. That wasn't a bad angled leaf. No sleep is okay as long as I take a nap during the day. Well, the problem that I keep having is that I can't take a nap during the day very well. I try, but I can't. Why do I feel like this restarted? I don't think it was that long. Oh, it did. It's only an hour long. Okay, hold on. Uh, sure. That's the Zelda noise, but okay. Ow. Ugh. Spooky videos always help you go to bed. They don't help me at nighttime though, because it scare the heck out of me. Spooky makes you go to bed. I'm the opposite. Spooky does not make me go to bed, and then also on top of that, at night they're awful. Okay, so I need darker leaves though. I don't have like a darker green. I have like different levels of green. This one's specifically a lighter green, so, or I think it is. I think I need darker green. Doesn't look right. There you go. Don't watch them too late. Yeah. Let's see, Holly. Oh, that's all the seasonal. Now it's on to the beach. Out of shell. Use this one. I have hands? Oh yeah, I forgot you hadn't noticed that I had hands. They don't come up all the time. But gems and the bombs, yeah. I feel like I need this to be more yellow, but I kind of like it as it is. We'll see. What's this music? It's awesome. World 8 on Mario 3D World. How much tracking does this rig have? This rig has face tracking and it has hand tracking. I don't have like feet or body tracking. I'm using web motion capture, so it's tracking the head super well. But it's a webcam and an iPhone. So there's no like under stuff, but the webcam motion has like hand tracking through the webcam. So it's not like a leap motion or anything like that. It is just through a webcam right now in a dark room. Somehow it works. I mean, the whole body is rigged so things can move. I had full body tracking with a lot of weird setup through in a app that I had done before. I have like all I have is TikToks of it. I don't have that same setup anymore, or I can still probably remake it, but that is what it is currently. Yeah. Telling you full body track, you're sitting there playing most games. Yeah. I only did it for Ring Fit Adventure, which I should get back into. I really should. All right, I want coral. I'm gonna take this color for coral. Yay, you got a Trico. I have a Switch and a Switch. I guess I have a PS4, but I'm not entirely sure if it still works or not. Okay, Quillfish, nice. Yeah, I have a Switch, and then I do PC gaming, and then I don't really have anything else besides that PS4. I'm just gathering dust. Yay, Quillfish, you got it. You sniped it. First catch. What is a Quillfish? Quillfish is it's a Pokemon. Quillfish is a Pokemon. It showed up on the screen on the bottom left while we were doing that. Uh, there's a little visual indicator that I have that I created that should show the Pokemon that was about to be caught. Yeah, it is like a pufferfish. It is blue. Trying to go back to bed. Okay, Wavy. Hope you have a good time trying to go to sleep. Alright, like that for the coral. Ugh. Stretch. Sea urchin. Oh, it's purple. And sea. Let me see if I back up. Let's see. I tried to re-stretch that with my channel points earlier, but they're out of let's see, stretch. I just cleared it. I don't know if there was a backlog of it. They shouldn't be out of stock. They are not paused. That wouldn't be one that I would take off for any reason, so I could try again. Since Phantom did do it earlier in the stream. Thank you. I will stretch. Ugh. Ow. Actually, let me stand up for just a second. I'm gonna break my tracking for a second, but I just wanna stand up. It's been an hour. I need to stand up anyways. Okay. Ugh. Means an ad went off and I didn't notice because it had just been an hour. I think I need to do is this. And then brighter color. Yeah, and then there we go, sea urchin. I feel like my own versions are not exactly entirely better. I just like them. This is a rainbow shell, but it doesn't look rainbowy. It looks like just like, I guess it is kind of iridescent. Look at it. Oh shit, what did I knock over? Oh god, I didn't knock anything over. I almost did. I did knock something over. Hold on. I did not get over huge, but it was last time. I thought I cleaned something up. I didn't, and it got under stuff. 60 moves. Yeah. I just need to at least tally it up to make sure I was doing okay. So I guess we'll do this, and then we'll... Oh, that's why that went like that. I don't know, I could just do my favorite color ramp. Like that. It's my favorite color ramp. This is gonna be a little bit more yellow now. Pretty shallow. I like this one. There we go. That's a good shell. I like it. Alright, clam. Should just take the garlic color. But I guess it's more blue. I'll take this. Oh, Wooloo! Get me. I didn't get the Wooloo! No! Bleh. Lamb. I don't like it as much though. I think I just need this to be slightly darker. Yeah. Cockle. Saltwater clam. I like fish things. What else do I have left? Cave carrot, coconut, ginger, magma. After the cockle, mussel, oyster, seaweed. I still get so tired after 1 hour. After 1 hour, I just lose all focus. But I'm close to the end. Ish. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So close. Do I have anything gray or black? I don't think I have anything that dark. Here. Take from here. Yellowstorm! I'm focusing. A cockle. I don't know if it's actually called a cockle, but it's what I think it is. Hi, how are you? Slept for like 3 hours. Oh, I'm so sorry. I went to bed pretty early. Still not as early as it could have been, but you know. Or actually, I thought it was earlier, but then I realized maybe it wasn't as early as I thought. But it doesn't matter, I'm awake now. How about you? I'm okay. Ugh. I just woke up and decided to work on stuff. I didn't like do commissions, but I just need to do some emails for commissions and stuff to make sure everyone's got things. The final assets of things. Got one commission. So I still only have 2 to do. But I'm in the clear in terms of just being able to spend some time on this. I think I need to brighter than this. Budgeting. What are these for? These are these bottom are all of these right here are Stardew Valley assets. So this is just like my reimagining of Stardew Valley stuff, which I started just because I wanted planned ideas, but at this point I might as well just like make all the assets so I can put it in like a mod pack or whatnot. It needs to be brighter. So I have a list of Stardew Valley assets over here that I can that I'm making. I've got 6 left to do on the foraging, which I'm trying to force myself to at least finish those before I'm done for now, because I'm so close. I can tell by the quality of the assets that certain apes, person who created Stardew Valley, likes fish. I mean, besides him having 5,000,000 fish in the game, of course. Uh, sounds cool. Fish. Yeah. Fish. Where's my mouse? I've lost my mouse. Hello? Okay. Carp. Banding. Got it. Okay. Oyster. That's a little bit too bright, I guess. actually. Actually kind of works better. Magikarp. Yes. Seaweed. Do you have anything that can be used as a seaweed base? Yes, actually I do. It would be these ones. Is that like a shell? Yeah, this is an oyster. That's nice. And I guess there's little red spots or something on there. I like that seaweed. That's a nice one. Red mushroom, purple mushroom on the mines, and a cave carrot. There are no actual carrots in the game. I am in Pixel Edit. Let me reply. Pixel Edit. Hello, Mookie and Leshruck. There aren't what? Oh yeah, there's no carrots in Stardew, right? Or am I dumb? Yeah, there's no carrots. There's parsnips and then there's cave carrots, but not like carrots. Alright, I want this for the green, but how are you guys? Hello. For that. No, I did never play Stardew. Oh, it's fun. And I assume at this point everyone's played Stardew just because cultural zeitgeist. Stardew? I want to Stardew. Oh, you can check. Oh, I didn't realize you could check. I don't know what I do or don't have. I'm just like, I want it. Let's see. Yep, okay. But I already have one, evidently. Yeah. Cave carrot. Okay. I already have the cactus fruit, but then I realized I need to rechange some of these, but that's a problem for later. Star, you escaped. I somehow accumulated like 40k in the Pokemon thingy. Yeah, and the Poké Dollars. Yeah, I don't know exactly how you do that. I'm assuming it's by watch time or something. I haven't checked, but I have a lot of, like, assets in that game. I don't even actually really even use. Probably, yeah. The line between the fuzzy of the coconut and then just texture. Coconut. Ginger? Use this color for ginger. Almost done. This is at least a good experiment in learning about why Concerned Ape did what he did on some of the art, trying to recreate it and being like, oh, that's why it looks like this, is because, you know, this is what I'm trying to convey, and it doesn't actually come through unless I do this, etc. I don't know, that wasn't well explained, but you know. Understanding why. Understanding things a little bit better. Understanding art. Remaking art is a way to learn, is just to remake what you made, or what someone else made. Be like, why did they do that? And then you figure it out. Concerned Ape is the person who made Stardew Valley. He made it by himself. It's only a one-person team. And by that, it's not a team, but you know. That's what I mean. Made everything by himself. Yeah. One-man band. Yeah. I think he did everything, like including music and whatnot, and because it is art. Let me hold on. I got a cat who wants to be in my lap. There she is. Baby. He says, I don't care if you're talking, I want to be in your lap right now. I'm just like, okay. That's okay, because we're almost done. We just need the magma cap. which is, let's see, do I have a different one that's closer? I like this one. So it's this dark purple red. At the kitty. Yeah, she's in my lap. She's right by my mouse. Laying on my table while on my thigh. Kind of stretched out. Magma cap. Mm. Interesting. Just on this. What does the boat do? Oh, it has a little boat come up on screen and has the bad Titanic recorder sound. It's meant to be when I fuck something up. The really bad Titanic recorder. Sure. Oh, that's magma shroom. That is magma cap, sorry. Let's go through and look at it. So sap, wild horseradish, daffodil, leek, dandelion, spring onion, morel, common mushroom, salmonberry, grape is already over here, spiceberry, sweet pea, red mushroom, fiddlehead fern, common mushroom again, wild plum, hazelnut, blackberry, chanterelle, red mushroom again, purple mushroom, winter root, crystal fruit, snow yam, crocus, holly, nautilus shell, coral, sea urchin, rainbow shell, clam, cockle. I mean, it's fat, didn't I? Mussel, oyster, seaweed, red mushroom again, purple mushroom again, cave carrot, cactus fruits already up here, coconut, ginger, magma cap. That's everything. That's all the foraging items. I need to like redo this one and something else. Grape. Not grape's fine. Cactus fruit. I need to choose my battles better. That was so quick. It's an hour and a half. I had already had these done, these first two, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 26. In a hour and a half. That's okay. For the time that I have for these so far. Are you gonna move, kitty? Am I talking too much? I love you. I love you so much. I love you. I love you, baby. I guess I should go ahead and here, let's oh, I was gonna redo them all to be up front so they all have the same yeah, I'll redo these later. I'll figure out if I want to like redo these later. Cause yeah, cause the whole in the world concept versus something else. Well, that's it. That's I should not do all of these assets at once and continue going on. I need to make sure I take breaks. I mean, there's commissions I could work on, but not this morning. This morning was me time, and this is my me time for this morning. But thank you guys for coming out. Bye-bye.